In its inaugural year, the Mini-Gami gives riders the experience of the full race, but at a shorter distance. 500 miles. From Chicago's West Loop, the route goes clockwise to Wisconsin, crosses Lake Michigan on a ferry, south to Indiana, and finally north again to close the loop back in Chicago. For some riders, it's about pushing their limits, riding further than they ever thought possible. For others, it's a battle of speed and strategy, a bid for victory against determined competitors. But for all, the unyielding truth of the race looms large. Self-supported means you're on your own. Flat tire, broken chain, mechanical catastrophe, improvise or risk falling behind. The clock ticks relentlessly, and it won't stop until you cross the finish line. The stakes are clear from the start. The first ferry departs at 1:30 a.m., the second, 5 p.m. the next day. Riders need to average 12 miles per hour over nearly 200 miles to catch the first ferry. No small feat when factoring in stops and fatigue. But for those eyeing the podium, it's a non-negotiable. As the miles unfold, strategies emerge. Will the leaders push aggressively to build a buffer, or will they pace themselves, saving energy for the grueling second half? The rules are simple. No drafting, no outside assistance, no stashed supplies. Every choice matters. Every mile is earned.
77 miles in, 3 o'clock, so a little worried, but should be fine. It's definitely a little harder in the beginning than I thought.
By nightfall, the lead group of 3 takes charge, arriving at the ferry at 9:30 p.m. with time to rest and recharge. Behind them, the tension rises. Riders trickle in. The last rider boards, with just 30 minutes to spare.
I actually got really lucky. I failed to buy a ferry ticket. Like, ferries in Seattle, it's just like you walk on with your bike, you know? John and I got in at like 9:30. Jay asked if I had like a room for the night. I was like, nah, dude, I haven't even bought a ticket. He's like, I bought my ticket a month ago. Check that out online. So I go to the website and it says like no tickets available for this ferry. And it's just like my whole mood changed. Worked so hard on day 1 to make that ferry. Now I wasn't gonna catch it because I didn't buy a ticket, but they had not only a ticket but a stateroom available for me. So I got to sleep on the bed and catch the sunrise off the lake. Got the little porthole. That was beautiful.
Once the ferry reaches port, the racing truly begins. It's 290 miles back to Chicago. The original lead group of 3 was whittled down to 2 after Jay McLaughlin took longer than the others to get going upon arrival. It was clear the 2 leaders were prepped and ready to roll. Jay was hot on their heels and would be chasing the rest of the way. The 2 leaders kept a strong pace while keeping each other company. All but 2 riders end up making the ferry, whom we caught up with the next day before their departure.
We're in Manitowoc waiting for the ferry at 5 p.m. It's about 4:20.
I had an Airbnb booked at Port Washington, so that was where I was going. Unless I got there and I felt like $1 million, and I did feel fine, but I'm taking this more as like a vacation, like adventure, chill time. So I think it was like 1:30-ish to Port Washington. It was great. The weather was beautiful. It was a fun day.
You know, I just gotta think about how much I want to ride in the dark, which is not my preference. So I might just call it at Whitehall, Michigan. It's about 30 miles, and check into a motel. The other option is to go to Muskegon, but that would be about, I think it's 60 miles. Sleeping in Whitehall means that I got to put in another 150 miler the day after. So it's gonna be just a choice I'm gonna make as soon as I leave the ferry, depending on how I feel.
Jono and Drew, neck and neck, maintain a blistering pace in an extraordinary display of sportsmanship and mutual respect. The two cross the finish line together. Their time, 1 day, 18 hours, and 49 minutes. Anna Donnelly is 112 miles behind the race leaders, holding a strong pace. In a race like this, mental fortitude often outweighs raw endurance. Anna secures her place in history as the first female finisher with a time of 2 days, 5 hours, and 8 minutes.
Feel good. Feel good. Get another 100 in. I feel real good.
This guy's a fucking monster. Awesome to meet somebody on the ride that you just ride well together. We were like the same rider.
We just started kind of working together and like agreeing that we're just gonna stop when someone needed to stop. Then it was like, well, at this point, like we're just kind of doing it together. Of course, probably both of us are super competitive, want to win, but I felt like that friendship and that bond that was formed within the ride itself was like a little bit more important than the actual result. I appreciated everything about today.
As the dust settles and the racers reflect, one thing becomes clear. This was more than a race. It was a testament to resilience, strategy, and the unbreakable spirit of adventure.